is I was hurt by people, and I know now I just pray for these people. They're in every church. I don't care what church you go to. There's people like that, but I realize that God has never hurt me. He's never hurt me. Hello, my name is Mike Evans, and welcome to Stand Up. Today, the subject matter is going to be, have you been hurt by people in the church before? Well, that's a big one. I got some experience on that, so I like to share. You know, there's people in the church call themselves Christians, and you know, these type of people that hurt you, I call them C-Nos, Christian in name only. That's what a Christian comedian taught me one day. I want to share some experiences that happened to me. This many years ago, but the hurt that happened to me was really bad. Like I said one time at another video prior, that my wife had left me for another guy, and at the time I was feeling suicidal. Well, I had this friend, I use that lightly now, but he used to carry a Bible with him everywhere he went. And one day out in front of my house, he said, "Mike," he goes, "you know, I like you, but I just want to let you know that you're going to hell." And I'm thinking, what? What are you talking about? He says, God doesn't believe in divorce. Now, you need to know that at that time, I had never read the Bible, but it just didn't make sense to me. I said, look, my wife left me for another man, you know, and it really hurt me. And you're telling me I'm going to hell? Well, you know what? I have read the Bible now from Genesis to Revelation, and I know that he's wrong on that. And maybe it would help him, instead of just carrying the Bible, if he'd open it up and read it and allow God to speak through him. Because the Bible is just full of God's love. Yeah, there's commandments in there, but the main thing is His love for us. After that, it just that hurt me pretty bad, but I kept going to church. And I remember I was in my 20s at the time, and there was a lady in church. She was about 2 years younger than me. And I remember after church one day, her father rolls up and in his car out in the middle of the street, and he kind of goes like, he calls me over to the car. And he says, "You know, I would appreciate if you would not see my daughter." And it just really floored me. It's because that I had been divorced. Well, my mom raised me to have manners. I always treated women with high respect, but the fact that I was divorced, he didn't want me to be around her, and it wasn't my fault that my wife left me for another man. There was another time that I was selling my boat. That was fairly recent, a couple of years ago, but this man came over, and he used to be a pastor, and I just let you know that my hair was shorter then, quite a bit. And this guy, and I'm being really nice to him because, you know, I want to sell my boat. And he goes, "Is there any barber shops in the area?" Because he didn't live in the area. And I looked at him, I noticed he had really short hair, and I'm thinking, he doesn't need a haircut. Well, I realized he was talking about me. And it really hurt me. You know, people judge you from the outside so many times, and it's just, they can be very hurtful. I was on a jet, and I sat next to this man, and he was saying, "Yeah, I just got back from Indonesia and China," and he sounded like he'd been all over the world. So I asked him, I said, "Are you a missionary?" He goes, "Oh, no." He goes, "I gave up on all that church stuff 25 years ago." So I just started to share with him how I got hurt in church by people. But I said, you know, the one thing I learned is I was hurt by people, and I know now I just pray for these people. They're in every church. I don't care what church you go to. There's people like that, but I realize that God has never hurt me. He's never hurt me. But at the time when I was feeling all this hurt and rejection, I just dropped out of the church altogether. And I mean, I dropped out of the church for 35 years. And Jesus has been knocking on my door for all these years. And And about 13 years ago, I opened that door. I never really walked from God, but I walked from the church. I always believed in Jesus, but I got hurt by the church, so I walked. But like I said, I realized that people hurt me, God didn't. And there's some really awesome people in the church. I mean, really loving people. So the ones that hurt you, you just pray for them. And, in John 13:35, he says, "You'll know my people by the way they love each other." And that is so true. And, there's another thing that really kind of bothers me. In some churches, people will sit in a certain area, and the people in the church, they know, I said, well, that's that person's seat, Whoa, excuse me. But there'll be, let's say a new person comes into the church, brand new, they might be nervous. They might be like me, have been out of the church for years, and they'll sit in that person's seat. And that person will look at them and say, look, that's my seat, it's been that way for years. That's just not right. Jesus, he loves us so much. He's such a loving God. And talk about judgment, when that prostitute, that there was a bunch of men that surrounded her that were going to stone her to death. And Jesus knelt down beside her. And he looked at the crowd that was going to stone her, and he says, let the person without sin throw the first stone. And another they say it's a good example for witnessing is Jesus at the well with the woman. It wasn't it wasn't a monologue that he had with that woman. It was a dialogue, and he already knew that she'd been married 5 times. But he didn't jump all over her. He spoke love into her. And that's what we're supposed to do as Christians. And I wanted to share one other thing. I remember I was reading a book. There was these 3 college students that were filled with the love of God in their hearts, and they wanted to share at this church gathering. And there was 3 of them. The last one spoke, and they were speaking from their heart. They just loved Jesus. And what shocked me is what the person said after the last one had spoke. This man walked up and he says, "Can I speak to you?" The guy goes, "Sure." He goes, "The next time you talk about Jesus, you better be wearing a tie." That's ridiculous. We need to pray for these people. But just remember, I wanted to say in Nehemiah 8:10, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Let's not let these people steal our joy. Maybe when they're growing up, they drank sour lemonade in their baby bottles. I don't know. But we need to pray for them, because that kind of attitude does not belong in a church. I just wanted to show you when I talk to people, non-believers, my wife gave me this heart, and it says love on it. And when I speak to people, I said, this is what it's all about. It's all about His love. I just want to say, if you've been hurt by these people, come back to church. I want to read you a passage in the Bible, because how important it is that we continue to go to church. This is in Hebrews 10:25. "And let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of His return is drawing near." How true that is. God is trying to draw His people back to Himself. And time is short. God is wanting me to warn people, and that's the one thing He keeps saying, that it is short. People, wake up. Open your eyes. 2020. This is the year. Like the Vision 2020, God is saying, open your eyes, because I'm going to come like the time of Noah, and you need to be prepared. So the most important thing that we can do, even though I dropped out of the church for all those years, now I'm back. And I'm not going to let anyone steal my joy. And I'm going to help people that are hurting. And if a person walks in and they're divorced and they feel alienated from the church, that is so wrong. So I just tell you, you have a Father in heaven that'll never leave you, and he loves you. So we just pray for these people. I can't emphasize that anymore, because there's some very loving people in the church. So sit with them and pray for the others. And dear Lord, I just pray that you light us up. You fill our hearts with your love. And let us see people, man, through your eyes, because that's what you're all about. You're all about love, the love that the world needs. There's so much hatred and division going on right now. So use us, God. Use us in a mighty way. Send us out. The harvest is great and the workers are few. So Lord, I'm asking you to use me to help these people that are hurting. And I pray now for people that maybe they were hurt. That's why they spew out this stuff that doesn't belong in the church, dear Lord. So I pray for them. Open their eyes. Fill them with your love. Let us be an example to people in this world. There's so many people out there, like some of these televangelists, they want your money. It's not right. It's just not right. But there are some really good, loving Christians out there. So hang with them. If you like this video, I ask you to subscribe to it. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. And share it. Let's all share our love with this dark world. Light us up, dear Lord, and turn us loose on this dark world. Thank you.